What we do seem to have a problem with still, though, is the old water bosses and the hosepipe bans. I mean, we can't believe that we've now got hosepipe bans at this time of year, in April showers time. I mean, it doesn't go very long before rain will fall, generally speaking, over the course of this month. Last month, it was the wettest March, apparently, in 42 years. But yet, there are hosepipe bans. I mean, it's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe. And, of course, South West Water, Devon and Cornwall, I mean, Devon and Cornwall are pretty wet. They're wet parts of the country. And these bans have been put in just in case we have a hot summer. Just in case. Right. But what about the leaks?
Well, they still haven't fixed the leaks. I mean, we've been told by Thames Water in London, and as long ago as 2012, I think it was 2011, they were doing an awful lot of roadworks in London, and they said that they were replacing all the Victorian water pipes before the Olympics, so that London could be this sort of modern, thriving metropolis without any leaking water pipe. They're still fixing them. Apparently, they're still, you know, we're now talking, what, 12 years on from the Olympics, so 13 years on, they're still doing the same work.
Well, you read stories in the newspapers, or you hear them on shows like this of burst water pipes and all the leakage and all the rest of it. The water companies say, we'll be on top of that, and then they never are, and it just goes around ad nauseum, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, there was one outside this building. There was one outside this building a few weeks ago. I actually took a video of it, because there was water just literally cascading out of this pipe, and they put a fence around it, but there was nobody there. Right, and it just said, you know, Thames Water fixing your water problems, and it was literally, I don't know where they'd gone for lunch.
Gone for lunch,
but it was, you know, it must have been thousands and millions of litres pumping out of this hole in the road, and nobody doing anything about it.
I know.
And it was there for a couple of hours, good couple of hours.
And it's not just Thames Water; it's like this all over the country.
Yes.
I think every water company.
Totally.
Is exactly the same.
Well, one of the things I can't imagine is the way that they run the water systems in this country, where you pay a sort of surcharge for them to take the water away, rather than paying just one fixed amount of money. So you pay a charge for having the water come into the house, and you have a charge for it going out of the house.
Yes, you do.
And going out is more expensive than coming in. How does that work? I mean, I just don't know how they do it. And meanwhile, I think something like 72 billion litres a day leaks into the ground. And they tell us, and this is the latest one, and I don't want to keep picking on Thames Water, but they seem to be the focus of a lot of the stories that we do. They came out with this brilliant suggestion last week or the week before, that if you were using the toilet only to go for a pee, that you shouldn't bother flushing it, which was then decided that was probably quite unhygienic, so that wasn't very good advice at all. But this was because, again, there might be a drought in the summer.
Oh, it's pathetic. I mean, back in 2007, my house was flooded.
Yeah.
And then and it was basically flooded because Yorkshire Water's pump stopped working, and therefore loads and loads of houses were flooded.
So they can't, because they can't handle it as too much water.
No, they can't. They can't. So what happened is I got this huge bill from Yorkshire Water, and they said, you must have a leak. I said, if I have a leak that big, I said my house would be flooded again. And amazingly, they just wrote it off.
Really?
They didn't even try to argue with me, because they knew I was right.
Right. Oh, were they going to try and charge you some money then?
Oh, they're going to charge me about 200 and something quid.
Right.
And based on the prices at the time, I mean, that was thousands and thousands of gallons of water. So if I had a leak in my house, you know, with thousands and thousands of gallons of water, you'd know about it, wouldn't you?
You would think so. And the other thing is, of course, that all those, and I'm not by any means a fundraiser or a cheerleader for this government, but they do get blamed for an awful lot of things that they shouldn't be blamed for. For example, all the sewage spillage that goes on. Again, it's the fault of the water companies, who can't seem to handle when there's a bit of rain. And suddenly they're pumping sewage into rivers and into the sea. I don't really understand why that's the government's fault.
It's not the government's fault. It's like everyone blames the health secretary for things that go wrong on the health service. He doesn't run the health service. The chief executives of various trusts and the chief executive of NHS England, for example, they run the health service. Yes, the health secretary has political accountability, but it's not his day-to-day job to run the health service. I mean,
it's one of many things that they could be fixing, I suppose. But let's just go back to the Bank of England for a minute, because Sir Ellen Braverman was on, the Home Secretary was on this morning with Julie Hartley-Brewer, and she was asked about this guy, Poison Pill, as I'm calling him, Hugh Pill, the man who thinks that you should just suck it up if you're feeling poorer, because that's just the way of things. Let's have a look.
Well, listen, there's been a lot of disputes about pay recently. I think the government's taken the right approach in a firm but measured approach when it comes to public sector pay disputes. Recommendations which are made by the independent body have been largely accepted by the government, whether it comes to the railways or the health sector or the teaching sector. We need to ensure that inflation comes down.
We need to ensure that inflation comes down. Well, that's true. We've got the coronation coming up. I mean, that should be a bit of a boost for the old coffers, shouldn't it?
It should be, but, you know, I think a lot of media outlets are talking about the coronation, but I don't really hear anybody I speak to. You know, my friends, conversations that I have.
Definitely not.
Members.
It's not going to be. I was talking to somebody the other day about the number of sort of street party licences that have been given out, and it's
very few.
Not that many. It's in the hundreds rather than the thousands.
It is, and there's certainly no street parties going on around me. And as I say, it's not a topic of conversation that people raise with me. Now, maybe as we get closer, I mean, I know we're just over a week away, but by the time it comes to the end of next week and the coronation's a couple of days away, maybe people are going to get more interested.
I think it will depend on the weather. It's very much a weather-related event for me. I mean, if it's a nice weekend...
It'll probably pour down with rain.
People will go out and about and enjoy it, and they'll go to the pub, or they'll go and maybe sit in a park or something and have a picnic and watch it or listen to it on the radio. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think the country has kind of embraced it in the way that they embraced the Queen's Jubilee last year. Because I think people had a sense last year that was probably the biggest and last event that the Queen was going to be involved in, aside from her funeral.
Yes, we did know that, but you're right. If the weather is good, it'll be fine. If the weather is lousy, you know, typical sort of bank holiday weekend, then
well, the forecast is saying it's going to be dry and mild, so that's almost bound to be wrong, isn't it?
Well, of course it is.
And we've got 2 bank holidays as well. So a bank holiday coming up this Monday, and then another one
following Monday.
Following Monday. It's not bank holiday Friday,
and a bank holiday right at the very end of the month. So there's 3 Mondays in May, and 5 Mondays in May, and 3 of them are bank holidays.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And then some people think we should have more bank holidays.
Yeah.
The economy's never going to recover. Unbelievable. Andrew, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Andrew Allison of the Freedom Association. We're going to be doing Plank of the Week later on this week with Andrew in the chair as well. So we've got plenty to talk about. That's every Friday, of course, 7 p.m. You don't want to miss that.